George is en route to 496 Broadway. Do you have another assignment there?
Through your law enforcement career, there are a few moments in time where officers make life and death decisions. And sometimes that plays out good, sometimes it doesn't. The county that we are in lost 2 deputies within a year and a half of each other, and they were both good friends of mine. We worked cases together.
The city of Wayzata experienced a line of duty death back in 1982.
Since I've been a police officer, I've had a number of friends that have been killed while they've been working for this department or other departments.
I worked for the Minneapolis Police Department, and that department's experienced a lot of on-duty deaths. Several of those men I worked with, and I was a partner with at one time or another.
People rely on officers. Some days that means fixing the chain on a bicycle of a little kid. Some days that means putting handcuffs on somebody and taking them to jail. It means a lot of different things.
There was a rule in Vietnam that someone has to walk the point, and the point is the most dangerous position to walk. It's the lead position as you move forward toward danger. And there's 3 rules that apply to that. 1, someone has to walk the point. 2, someone who walks the point will be killed or maimed or injured. And 3, you can't change rule number 1.
It's part of our job. It's part of our atmosphere here that it's possible. Anytime you put on the uniform, anywhere in this country, anywhere in the world, you put on the uniform, they have to be aware that it's a definite possibility.
If people understand that they're not just there to stop them for speeding or running a stop sign, police officers, deputies, whichever branch, they are there in the worst times.
Police officers are out there every day trying to protect us, and those families never know if their loved ones are coming home.
It's important that the public, the community, and the state never forget these people who have paid the ultimate price.
It's very important for people to realize that officers really become ingrained in their communities, and it's important that they understand, in addition to that, they're also people.
I've been building memorial statues for about 35 years. We did the memorial statue for Rick Crittenden in, I think, 2010, and he's walking with his little granddaughter.
It's really tough when you really do get to know the officers and they become friends of yours and co-workers. Sometimes it can be really, really tough.
My husband's death was the first death in 125 years of existence of the police department. It had a profound effect on the officers, the community, and of course on our family. He was kind of the rock that we all turned to.
The last couple of years I worked, I was really looking for a place to plug into to give something back in the form of some type of a memorial. And I didn't know what it was going to look like. And just by happenstance, I happened to meet Christine. She told me that she had purchased her husband's squad car.
My sister and I actually met with Roger at a Chiefs of Police conference, and then the dreams started coming about.
And I will always remember when I asked her what her goals were, she told me that she wanted to do something so that her grandchildren could remember Grandpa and what he stood for.
And I did not want it to be just about my husband. I wanted it to be a memory for every officer and every family.
And it just came to the surface that, you know what, we're going to make this into a memorial vehicle. It's going to represent all of our fallen brothers and sisters statewide. At that moment, I knew that something was going to grow out of this.
I saw the Thin Blue Line Memorial Squad for the first time at one of our state police chief conferences and met Christine there at the conference, and it was pretty moving.
I have seen the Thin Blue Line Memorial Squad car before it was actually the Memorial Squad car. Rick Crittenden was actually my best friend.
We're fortunate in that squad car comes to most of our events here in the state of Minnesota. They support the Law Enforcement Memorial Association, and it's mobile, it has all the names of the officers on it, and it goes to the majority of our events in the state of Minnesota.
It's just one of the best things that the state has ever had.
To have Sergeant Anderson's name memorialized as it is on the Thin Blue Line vehicle, it makes us feel like he's not forgotten.
It's just really important for people to see those names, to look at them, and realize they're human beings. They have family out there that loved them and weren't able to come home to that night.
It's a thrill to see officers at funerals or at our May 15th event walk up to that squad car, look at that car, search the hood, search the trunk for the names of their friends, their co-workers, their warriors, their heroes.
That fall, asked that they come and have the Thin Blue Line vehicle in our James J. Hill Day Parade, our fall festival. They were gracious enough to come to the event, and that was the lead car in the parade.
The only time that the public really is concerned about a line of duty death is the week or so after it happens and through the funeral. The movement of the squad and the appearance of the squad at various locations is very important. Visually, it's a reminder.
Remembrance is everything to survivors.
As a survivor, it is important to me to have my husband remembered. His life was taken in a very violent way, but he did save a mother, a daughter, and another police officer.
My father was killed in the line of duty when he went to serve commitment papers on a gentleman out in the country with one of his deputies, and he was shot and killed while serving serving papers. It was pretty traumatic. It happened back in 1976. When you lose someone in the line of duty, it's very traumatic, and you know, you expect them to be home that night, you expect them to come home that day.
I got a phone call. It was about 9 o'clock. It was my neighbors asking where my husband, if he was working alone. I said, well, I don't know if he's alone. And she said, there's been a shooting in North St. Paul. So I said, okay. And then my son called. He'd heard there was a shooting. I thought maybe shots fired. It wasn't until 10:30, and I was going to go ask 2 squad cars that I saw on the street down from my house what was going on, because I'd called my husband's phone and just said, I know you're busy, can't answer. Just calling to say I love you and be safe.
And I can remember listening to my mom and the cries that came out of her. When you lose someone in your like that, so traumatic, it's an experience that is very difficult.
At the time that I opened the door and was going to go ask the squads, the TV said the North St. Paul officer was dead. And then I saw the 2 dark squads pulling up, and I knew it was Rick. You go into shock after that, but I was asked if he knew the outcome, would he do the same thing? And I have to believe he would, just because Julie Olson had a 2-year-old daughter. She was a woman, and it's not that he thought she was less than an officer, but he was a wonderful gentleman, so he would make sure that she went home to her daughter. That's September 7th, 2009.
Officers that die in the line of duty are the officers that aren't afraid.
I don't ever want anybody to forget what Rick did.
You find your loved one's name and you go, God, they remember.
It's a great way to honor somebody who made the ultimate sacrifice.